Hi, y'all. Okay, so I'm continuing on the topic of becoming an in-law. Yesterday, I periscoped from the perspective of the mother of the bride, which I've been twice, and then last night on the perspective of becoming the mother of the groom, which is a whole nother ball game. You know, it's similar but very different. So becoming an in-law is my topic for today and for the rest of this week. So I hope that this is something that you can relate to. And if not, you probably know somebody that is going through this stage in their life, or you can pass this information on. And if you've been married a long time, you can even use this information in regards to helping your relationship with your own in-laws. So hopefully this is going to relate to a lot of people, but this is a very specific topic. But the topic of in-laws in in-law relationship is something that most of us will deal with at some point in our life, from one perspective or the other, either as the child or the adult child or the parent of adult children. So I just remember when my kids were starting to grow up and becoming adults, I had transitioned from reading Stormy O'Martian's book, The Power of a Praying Parent, to The Power of Praying for Your Adult Kids. And that prayer was really powerful to sort of help me keep my attitude in the right spot, because man, it is hard. It is hard to let those kids go out of your nest. Hey, Sandy, thanks for joining. Thanks to everyone else who's joined. I love having you as my Periscope audience. And for the hearts, I appreciate that so much. And it's always fun to be with you on Periscope twice a day at noon and 9. For those of you who don't know me and maybe watching on the replay, my name's Trina Titus Lozano, and I'm a counselor and an ordained Christian minister. And I have 4 children, but 3 are married. So 7 kids now and 9 grandkids, and 1 more on the way. It'll be 10 in June. So God has blessed me with a big family. There's 18 of us now, and there's a lot of dynamics because there's a lot of in-laws, a lot of family dynamics, and it's wonderful and it's beautiful, but it is something that has to be navigated carefully, starting from the engagement, like I talked about yesterday, really, and for the rest of your life. This is something to navigate very, very, very carefully, but so important, because we're talking about, we want to have a great big happy family, right? And we want to have a great big happy family, but that doesn't just happen. That's going to take some effort. That's going to take some intentionality to really make that happen. But it's important, and it's biblically important. Here's the scripture that we want to honor first and foremost. Genesis 2:24. Now, this is a family value that we have. That's right, Danielle. This is important. Family value that we have. Genesis 2:24. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife. And the opposite happens. A wife leaves her father, a woman leaves her father and mother and unites to her husband. It goes both ways, right? And they will become one flesh. Okay, so the King James says that they'll leave and cleave. They'll cleave. They'll be united. They'll cleave. So that bond is very important for their stability. That bond is very important for the stability of their marriage, for the stability of generations to come, so that your grandparents, your grandchildren, pardon me, will have a stable home to grow up in. But in order for your grandchildren to have a stable home to grow up in, it's very important that we, as the parents of adult children who are getting married, allow them to leave our nest and cleave to their spouse. If we don't do our part, we're going to mess up things for generations to come. And y'all, this is an ongoing reminder. This is a great reminder for me. This topic is a great reminder for me. Hey, thanks, Renee. I got to tell you, thank you for suggesting this topic this week. This is a really great topic, and it needs to be talked about because it's something that we all deal with. So here's a myth. I won't have to deal with my in-laws much after the wedding. So once the wedding planning is over, we won't really have to deal with them much. Oh, no. That is very definitely a myth. Okay, the reality is starting your marriage, in addition to this DNA thing that's really always going to be there, you've got this family tree that you're a part of, and your husband or your wife, is deeply rooted in their family, and you're deeply rooted in your family, and now you guys are just really branching off. But you're going to be dealing with your in-laws And so will your husband or your wife. And this is going to be forever. And that's right. And we are going to be dealing with our children and their spouses parents, and this is going to be forever. I mean, we've got family events and family parties. And of course, more than just weddings and funerals, you've got all kinds of activities on a regular basis. I mean, you probably have 4 or 5 family holidays a year, and there's expectations that go along with all of that. And so it's important that we think about this. We want to know that I just want y'all to know, I made a note here, that the most important thing is your attitude, and you have to always be aware of that attitude. And so first and foremost, watch your attitude. And so we want to always be sure that our attitude is in the right place in regards to the flexibility that you're going to have with your married children. Must be flexible at all times. You may have to celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving on another day of the week because they have their other in-laws, or Easter on another day, on another time. And boy, it gets a lot to just schedule things. But flexibility is absolutely key, and to not have expectations, right? And especially when they're out of town. But even when they're in town, it's difficult because then your kids might be trying to go to more than one family at a time. And then especially if there's blended families, I mean, it gets complicated. So attitude is everything, and just the flexibility makes everything important. Okay, now here's a myth, is that all in-laws are going to be totally annoying, intrusive people who attempt to ruin your marriage, okay? I'm not going to be that way for my kids, and I hope that I'm going to set a good example so that they're not going to be that way for their kids in the future. So it's a really, really, really hard part, but so important. Okay, so a few tips, y'all, and here's where I'm going to start. Okay, so as a parent of adult children who've just been married, these are things that you want to keep in mind for the duration of their marriage, which is going to be, until death do us part. So for the rest of your life, your family dynamics have changed. They are always going to be different. So now, instead of us being a family of 6, we're a family of 18, soon to be 19, and still growing. Right, so we've got to adapt to this. Our family, as we knew it, is not ever going to be the same. So just accept that so that you don't have the expectations that you'll do that. And honestly, you will miss it. You'll miss your kids being little. You'll miss that stage of life, but it's wonderful to let your family grow and extend. Don't think of it as division, that you're dividing the love now, and now your kids are dividing their love that they used to have for you, and now they've leaving and cleaving, so they've left your nest, and now they don't love you anymore, they love their spouse. It's not like that, because the love is supposed to multiply, not divide. So at least think of it that way, right? It's expansion. Okay, so number 1, don't give advice unless the young couple specifically asks for it. And then even if they ask for it, it's not going to work well if you come across like condescending or preachy. And this is so hard, y'all, because I'm a counselor and I give people advice all the time. And it's just hard as parents because we know more than our kids know. We've been around longer. So this is it's a tough thing, but honestly, we've got to constantly be reminded. Really, they really just want the support. Even if they ask for advice, they don't necessarily want it. But it's a great thing if they do, but don't give it unless you're asked. Okay, number 2, don't offer financial aid unless it's a gift, because when it is a loan, that's going to cause family problems. If you want to, as a parent, every once in a while, if there's a real need, step in and give them a gift, then that way you let go. Because if it's a loan, then you remain controlling about it, and whoever controls the money controls the situation. So you don't want to be controlling. And so don't offer a loan, and don't get in a place of having your married adult kids come back and live with you, because then there becomes a power struggle of who's the authority, because if they're living in your home, it's your home, you're the parents, you're the authority. Well, no, now that they're their own family, you're not their authority anymore. So once that leaving and cleaving happened at the wedding day, that's all changed now. So you're just a support system. Oh, good, Amy, I'm glad you joined. You're going to like this. Okay, so keep your personal questions to a minimum. Again, all these things are so hard, y'all, as you transition from being a parent to parents of adult children and then to being an in-law. this is so hard. It's all really counterintuitive to let, you want to keep your babies and your little birds in your nest, but as they fly away, you're going to miss them. But you got to just embrace this new stage of life, okay? No matter how hard it is. So keep the questions to a minimum, because you're going to want to ask questions. You're going to want to be in their business. I'm just going to tell you will, but you can't, because it is so hard, but you can't, because it's ultimately destructive for their marriage, which is destructive for the stability of your whole family tree. So, just don't go there. It's not worth it. Okay. Number 4, respect the couple's confidence when they confide in you. If they're confiding in you, if you're going to blab about what they said, that's going to also cause some family conflict. Your brother moved back with your parents after you got a divorce. It's been 3 years now. And, Rachel, I hope that your parents will realize that's, to just help a little bit for a little short period of time. They really need an exit plan right away, because, they're not really going to ultimately be helping him. It's going to be hurting him. So that support system can't, if you help too much, you end up hurting them. So you're just going to be codependent and make them, be an enabler. You don't want to do that, for sure. You stay with your parents. Well, that is an emergency situation, Danielle, and that is totally different. That's what parents are for, and it's great as a parent to be there and to be available in an emergency situation to help out, but you just don't ever want to cross the line there where your kids who've supposed to have been leaving and cleaving are now overly dependent on you. So you don't want to be dependent on them, and they don't want to be, they shouldn't be dependent on you. But yeah, you want to be there for each other. So, it is a fine line, but it's something you've got to navigate very carefully so that you continue to respect the bottom line value of marriage. Okay. And the leaving and cleaving and the unity of marriage is so important. Okay. So don't expect your children's values and standards to be the same as yours. With each generation, times change, situations change. So what would have been your family, what would have been your standards, are going to be slightly different now, because times have changed, things have changed, perspective has changed. So with this change, different people evolve differently. So, don't have expectations that just because you were a Democrat, that they're going to be a Democrat, or just because you were a Republican, that they're going to be a Republican. Listen, y'all, parties have changed over the years. My great-grandma was a Democrat. Well, at that time, that was the conservative party, and then that evolved to where they weren't the conservative party anymore. Well, then now, no party seems to be conservative. We just got crazies in Democrats and Republicans, and I don't even know who I'm going to vote for at this point. It's just also kind of crazy. But, times change, things change, so you just have to just sort of go with the flow and, be flexible, because your kids are going to be making their own decisions, and I just, you want to pass down those family values without expectations and without those strings attached, because you want to always promote this family unity, and it's going to become destructive if you're getting in the way of their marriage and their adult decisions. Okay, so that letting go is really hard, but you got to do it. You got to do it. Okay, so give them room, to just have their own life. And then, treat them with respect, and hopefully they'll treat you with the same respect. And I think it's important because, it's really got to go both ways. Sometimes you'll see parents relying too much on their adult children, and sometimes you'll see adult children relying too much on their parents. So it's really got to be this mutual respect that you have for each other, where everybody has mutual respect. Everybody will call and say, hey, we're available. Are you busy? You want to get together, but it's got to be this open-ended thing. And if they're not, they're not, but don't get offended about it. And if you're not, you're not. And hopefully they won't get offended about it either, where there's this mutual love, mutual respect, but not the expectations, that you're still like a blended family. You're not. Each marriage is their own family, and then y'all become extended family with each other. But, you're still part of the same family tree. And that's also important, to understand, to respect, and so that you don't just, you don't want to put up walls, because you're part of the same family. You're part of the same family tree. And so I love this necklace that I have right here. And I was talking about it yesterday, and I think it is just so pretty. And I have given one to my daughter, Brooke, because Oh, good. I'm glad you're liking this, Becky. I'm glad this is going to be relevant to you. Oh, girl, this is hard. This is hard stuff. So, you need to get Stormy and Martian's book, The Power of Praying for Your Adult Kids. And as your boys are leaving and cleaving, just got to prepare for that. Okay, you're going to need to be able to pray. But I love this necklace. And here's what it says. Like branches on a tree, we grow in different directions, yet our roots remain as one. Was it the hardest when you first got married, or equally as hard every time? That is a great question. It's different with each child. When my oldest daughter got married, it was hard because she got married in college. And so she was living away from home. And so her whole dating experience with Scott wasn't happening in our home. So we weren't really a part of it. And then she got engaged and married very quickly. So, that was hard because it was such a quick wedding. And so we had to just transition oh, wow, they're dating, she's engaged, now they're getting married. So we immediately had to make the choice, like I said on my Periscopes yesterday, to just jump into the excitement, to be supportive, because that you want to do that. They've made this choice and you want to be supportive. But that was really hard because it was the first time. Well, then, but in another way, it was easier because she's our daughter. And so, I'm talking to her all the time and just staying very well connected. Well, then when my son got married, it seemed like he spent so much time at his wife's house and dating her, and being a gentleman. He would take her and pick her up and spend a lot of time at her house. So she wasn't at our house as much when they were dating either. So, and then when he got married to her, they lived out of town. And, it was just a different dynamic of having a daughter-in-law versus a son-in-law. I didn't talk to my son as often, and I really felt like he was sort of more connected to his wife's family for a while. And that happens, to his wife and her family. So it was very different, and not easier or harder, just different being a mother-in-law of a son versus a mother-in-law of a daughter. So over the years, I've tried to make it work, and I've made a ton of mistakes, but I'm still trying to figure this out. And these tips are tips that have helped me, and I know that they'll help y'all, and it's a great reminder. But yeah, don't be scared about it, Danielle. Don't be scared about it. God will help you through. And my daughter-in-law, actually, she and I are just now really, really bonding. So don't have expectations that you'll bond overnight. You just might not. Sometimes it takes years, and sometimes it takes different things that God does in each of our hearts to really bond the way that we're hoping we will. But just keep praying about it. Keep making yourself available. Yeah, you do not want to be the monster-in-law. That movie is so funny. But you don't want to be that. So that's a good example of what not to be. But this relationship is important. So it's worth your effort. It's part of why you exist, really. It's a big part of why you exist, is the relationships with your family. So y'all keep working on it. I'm going to talk about it more tonight and continue to talk about it this week. But these are some great tips, hopefully, that you guys can just implement into your own life and your own relationships, as you become an in-law. And remember, on Periscope now, you can rewind and listen to this over and over again if you need to. And be sure to share this with other people that that it might be helpful to. If you'd like to see past Periscopes of mine, go to my website, TrinaTitusLozano.com, and some favorites that are in there. You could go to the menu and see some favorites that I would recommend to y'all. But this is a fun topic, and it's a difficult topic, but it's going to be fun to just tackle this week. So God bless y'all. Thanks for Periscoping with me, and I will be back at 9 o'clock tonight to continue to talk about this. Oh, thank you, Danielle. I needed that help. Appreciate that. TrinaTitusLozano.com, and there it is. Respect their home, just don't pop in all the time. Amy, but it would go both ways. They tend to pop in on us, but we're not allowed to pop in on them, right, Amy? But you know what? That's okay. You just kind of got to go with the flow. But you're so right. You're so right about that. But God bless you. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back tonight. Bye-bye.